All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
My Hero Academia, Season 5, Episode 11, Black Whip.
Black Whip and the Vestiges of One for All. We don't know the guy's name, but his quirk being one that is essentially, hey, tentacle powers. They're always OP.
Tentacle powers are pretty busted.
Yep.
And the fact that they're connected to One for All makes them even better.
Right, because of the way that they've been passed down and the power has been stockpiled over time.
And just let it accumulate, and just get stronger and stronger over time. Awesome. Cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
The fact that Deku has potentially 6 new quirks that he could tap into eventually.
That he will eventually tap into.
That is ridiculous. But in the more immediate sense, the fight hasn't stopped.
No, the
Shinso
fight is
helped,
actually in all-out just chaos right now.
It's about as crazy
and
as it
Shinso
can
were
get.
very helpful in getting things to go better so that Aizawa didn't have to step in and stop the fight.
Yes.
Which is awesome because it just shows a lot of ways that these two, Shinso and Deku, were able to, kind of meet in the middle,
right?
Even in the middle of the match, there.
Roll with all the chaos and craziness that's been happening.
Yeah, and then Uraraka basically making this happen.
Yeah,
instigating it so that it must happen was fantastic. We do have some little mysteries though, a little bit. Monoma has copied a quirk,
right?
The movement telekinetic based quirk. Yep,
very helpful for mobility.
But he has those watches on his fingers that he quickly slapped onto his belt. And I would understand maybe if you'd have, a watch basically to keep track of the time until his quirk runs out.
Right. I could definitely see that. Yeah.
But why have 3?
Yeah.
That just feels like maybe he's like, if I drop one,
sure,
or one breaks or something.
Well, what I'm guessing it is, how does Monoma train his quirk? Either by being better at adapting or increasing the time limit of having a quirk, or potentially making it so he can have multiple at once, or even just have multiple stored up so that then he can take one off the stack and use the next one.
Right. It's not that he necessarily has
them all at one
time to use. But he can basically
swap out one to get the next one.
Right, and then that dumps its time, so he doesn't have to go and touch people.
Right, and that's why he needs the multiple clocks going on at the same time.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing I was thinking when I was going back through the previous episode, was that the one thing that felt like it was intentionally kind of waved in our faces was literally him going this, and I'm like, why show that? And I'm like, I understand having one so that you keep track of your time, but if he has 3, maybe that's his limit of, and it's also thematically relevant with the idea of stored quirks.
Oh yeah, and Deku's whole thing. But also, that could be a fun way to make it so that Class 1B wins, because if Class 1B wins, then it's a tie. Cool, right?
Right.
Fun narrative outcome, right?
Yeah.
But with how things are going so far, while Class 1B does have the advantage, I would say, because their team comp is a bit more synergistic than Class 1A's. Class 1A kind of lacks in that regard.
Yeah, they have a bit more power in Deku.
Yeah, but if they also come out with the surprise, in addition to their numbers advantage and and things like that, that could be a really fun way for them to come out on top and really have it feel like Class 1A gave their all, and it's too bad the cards came up this way.
Yeah. We also had a couple things passed along to us regarding some of the complexities of Monoma's character. And also the idea that the continuity of Deku's wound on his right arm not being something that came from using Black Whip.
Right.
But that was from a previous battle. I believe muscular.
I think so, yeah.
Well, that's one
because
where
his arms got messed
most.
up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But let's continue this fight, y'all. So without further ado, let's jump into it. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. Okay. All right. So I was wrong. Class 1A did win here.
And
I'm
I like
kind
how
of
it happened.
surprised. Yeah. I think that of the reason why they won here, being basically that when it came down to it, the party split ended up working out way more in 1A's favor.
Right, which is surprising because usually when you split the party or when you divide and conquer, it favors the side with more numbers, right?
Well, that's the thing.
And traditionally that would happen, but it didn't end up working out that way this time. So I gotta say, Shinso, I know you were getting down on yourself and everything because you weren't able to actually beat Deku, but the fact that you kept him segued away from the rest of his team, so that basically your team, well, granted, Monoma got greedy and went after Deku, and then he got captured by Uraraka and all that. But you basically made it so you took out their strongest piece effectively, crowd control-wise, even if you didn't beat them, and then the rest of your team just ended up getting beaten by the 3 that were left. Right. And that's not on you, right? Yeah. That's something where you really gave it your best effort. You gave some great results, not the perfect results, right? Yeah. But you gave great results, and it just didn't end up going that way for your team.
Right. Yep.
Can't blame yourself for that.
Yeah, can't blame yourself for that at all. One of the things that's just really just crazy cool about this is the way, though, that Monoma comboed the quirks, basically, to be able to attack Deku when he is already long past him. So when he touched Deku, he had basically already set up Twin Impact at that point. Now, by touching him, he also then copied his quirk.
And I believe the way it worked out is that he ended up copying the side of One for All that did not have
it was
power.
The brother.
It was the brother's quirk, right?
Yeah,
and it's like, great, you can pass on power. Doesn't really feel like you copied anything. And in that moment, Monoma kind of, let's just say it's a good thing he was only able to keep it for 10 minutes or whatever. Otherwise, that could get really complicated. It's like, all right, don't tell him. Don't make sure that he doesn't, like, have someone eat a hair or something like that, you know?
Right, because what would happen... Oh, no, not necessarily eating a hair, because that still has to be based on intent. You can't unwillingly take One for All, because that's one of the things that I feel like also was kind of brought into this here, is that by copying the quirk, Deku didn't want him to have it.
Oh, right, yeah.
So all like he's getting is not One for All. Well, he's getting the quirk at the beginning, basically.
Because it's copy, not steal.
Right, exactly. Yes. So in this case here, what would have happened, though, in terms of quirk combination if his...
if he had then... figured out that he could try to pass on some of his own powers or something to someone else.
Because that's not the thing that's freaky here. Is that the quirk that All for One gave his brother because he thought he was quirkless was the ability to store power. But the guy already had the ability to pass on quirks. So the quirks melded in that regard.
Yep.
So Monoma, who's copying a bunch of quirks, probably never has the moment happen too much where he gets a quirk that does something to him permanently.
Sure.
But what if during the duration of the time that he has that quirk, it basically then meets up with the next quirk that gets copied, and then in that brief moment where they
makes it a permanent storing.
No, it interacts with him and changes him physically.
Yeah.
Now that's probably never happened to him because he's probably copied tons of quirks at this point.
Yeah, in a crazy acid trip dream or whatever, or something like that, I'm sure there is a world line in which Monoma has some crazy quirk convergence or whatever that turns him into some sort of god or main character, if you will.
Or if you will, actually, that will never happen. And this was the point where if it ever could have happened, it would have happened here. And this is something that, like, it feels like the kind of thing of where you have Twice and you have Monoma, and everyone will have their theories of what would happen if they ended up, copying or cloning specific
One
people.
for All gets Twice,
Right, exactly. All for One, yeah. But Monoma didn't have that here, which means he is dedicated in a meta way to be the supporting character.
And that was something that I really liked that he brought up, is when he was doing the whole, a bit underhanded tactic even potentially, like and I gotta say, hey, there is that saying, if you aren't cheating, you aren't trying hard enough.
True.
And Monoma, doing a move when you're already in the cage that no one can necessarily tell that you're doing. Whether that's legal or not, I don't know. I'm sure Monoma would be trying enough that he would do that for his team regardless.
Yeah.
But the fact that he set that up is really cool, and the fact that he specifically said a last desperate move from a supporting character.
I hope that created an opening for you.
I hope that created an opening.
Yeah,
Way to go, Monoma.
Way to go. Yeah.
Because Monoma, I feel like I've given him a lot of shit over the course of the series.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
A lot of it justified.
He's quite annoying.
He's like, and in sort of the best way. I love him to death, right? But also he has a very shit-eating grin, kind of a thing.
Yes,
and
exactly.
he's great to make fun of, right? It's all part of the banter and stuff.
Right.
You can't do poses like that without
that's
people
true.
laughing at you and with you. But this was a new side. This was super serious. A lot of the times that he basically promises that, hey, 1B is going to show up class 1A, you know? Some of it feels like it could be coming from a place of pride, where it's I want to show you how I'm better than you. But this was anything but that, where he's specifically taking the L in order to set up the rest of his team. That's the move of a leader.
Yeah, I think that also he knew ultimately once he came against, Uraraka protecting Deku.
She pinned him like that.
Yeah, he had no chance anymore, so he had to basically wait until there would be a moment where Deku was not at all expecting anything.
Right.
And maybe, based on the kind of stuff that he knows about, this is his big brain potential thing there, is he's counting the time, since he's all about, managing time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He might have been like, oh, by this point, he's now running away from Deku and trying to disappear amongst the environment. Means that Deku could be on the move. Now, I'm going to do something way later after their engagement to their fight.
Yeah.
And he won't suspect that. And the other thing is, Shinso could have already been beaten by that point.
That's true.
And it's like, hey, maybe then this is something where it's not going to be some like big opening or anything, but it's going to save you, maybe because he's like
possibly
restraining him or something.
Also,
so I really like that it was a thing that came way after the point in which he was taken.
The other thing I want to point out is that if I'm understanding this right, and that Shinso basically, or Monoma copied one of the myriad of quirks within Deku, right, that doesn't give an immediate benefit, right? That really sucks for him, because it's the thing where he's like, this guy's got a strength enhancing quirk and all that stuff. I can work with this. He takes the gamble. He goes in kind of too deep into enemy territory, gets too close.
Right.
Boom. Okay, I've got it.
So that part where he swiped at him, he touched Deku.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, wait, why isn't this working? And then Uraraka pins him, and Uraraka has good close quarters fighting skills. That's no problem. I'll have a strength enhancing quirk. I can just stand up, right? Nothing, no problem whatsoever. Oh, wait, that's not how this works.
And he called it a dud, which I like, is that the idea that he has experienced that in the past, where there are quirks that for some reason he can't copy.
Sure.
Things go a little bit wonky, and it's tricky to control. It's not...
He has a complicated quirk, and there probably aren't too many people that can be like, yes, when you have a mimicry type quirk that can mimic other quirks, these are the things to look out for. It's probably a lot of trial and error.
Right, and he's probably also just consulted by people, or he's consulted other people of hey, what's the general mental stuff that's used to activate quirks? Because my quirk doesn't come with an instruction manual of here's how you use their quirk.
Right. How do I figure out within 5 minutes how to use their quirk effectively?
Yeah. So he's probably focused his mind on being like, I feel
very adaptable.
I feel this specific tick of something new.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull on that or push on that and see what happens. Oh, okay. And that's the general thing. It's basically like someone who plays video games and knows WASD spacebar, mouse clicking controls. They can go to any other game, spend about a minute
and more
mashing a bunch of buttons, and they go, okay, this is the control scheme. Gotcha, that's cool.
Yep.
But yeah. So very, very cool stuff. Class 1A winning the fight, though, because of a couple things, though, feels really rewarding, though. It's not Deku, really, that won it for them.
Nope. In fact,
it's almost entirely the fact that Deku just kind of locked Shinso and himself away from the fight there.
And then baited Monoma.
And then Uraraka coming in just...
She cleaned house.
The moment where Monoma flung the metal thing at her that was enlarged,
batted it aside.
And just batted it aside. That doesn't get enough, I would say, praise in the actual critique afterwards, because they're talking more philosophy and fundamentals.
Right.
But the idea that she's like, no, I can active tap touch something that is coming towards me, stop all of its momentum by reducing its mass to zero, basically.
Well, and that's something that I think is an important distinction, because originally what I thought it was is that she could make it so that things weren't affected by gravity, right? So they just can be suspended. But now that I think about it, all the times that she actually used her quirk offensively, it would be that she would lift things up and then turn it off, and then they would fall, right? And then all of a sudden they're heavy again, and there you go, right? But I always figured that was just because she didn't have a way to get fine-tuned control to, like, make something float and then just push it. You know, you make an 18-wheeler float and then push it, and everything better get out of the way, right?
Right. Now, to be fair,
that it wouldn't make sense for it to work that way, because then she couldn't push it. But you know,
right. So in this case here, she's now been able to blend her martial arts into. Now I redirect this, and at that moment where it could just snap my arm, boop, there's that minor tick, and then just completely removed.
That is ridiculous.
That's insane.
That is insane.
I just realized in that moment that Uraraka is actually the ultimate tank.
Like, get the hell out of the way, Kirishima. Like, or even, bullets. What are those?
Right.
What are those? Yeah, it has speed, but it has no mass.
Right. Now, this is the problem. Just if this is how good her quirk is getting, is that bad touch quirks in general are a thing in MHA.
Yes.
There's just tons of people that have the if this
Shigaraki,
touches me,
you know.
But it's usually it has to touch a specific part of me, like Shigaraki with the fingers.
And it does
stuff.
some like inherent damage. Whereas this is like I just make you not effective.
Right. Uraraka can basically just wax on, wax off.
Yeah.
Everything. As
Pretty
long
much.
as she's alert and paying attention.
As long as it's something that damages you separate from the traditional laws of, like, Newton.
Yeah.
You know, like, as long as it's not something that's based on momentum and stuff, you're Gucci. Like, fire? Sure, that's a problem. Shigaraki? That's a problem, right? Kirishima? Tetsu?
Any physical-based user at all?
Deku?
Yeah.
She'd manhandle him.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
and I love that.
Now, all I'm thinking about is the idea of Uraraka having literally anyone that's physical come near her. She uses her quirk on them, and she's like, "I'm not releasing, bitch." And then she Hulk like whap 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 whap. And what will their structural integrity be?
Right.
If their masses,
if you actually like weigh nothing, not just you float, right?
Right.
You could whip them around as fast as you want. Like, it's the 3-year-old that gets
Well, no, you have your own limitations against wind resistance, your body.
Sure, things
movement.
like that, right?
Yeah.
But it feels very much like, okay, so back when the Wii was a thing, there was the boxing, right? Mm-hmm. And the best people at the boxing game were the little people, because their really fast arm movements would get scaled up to, like, regular adult size, right?
Yeah.
Uraraka can kind of do that. She can just be like, I can, as fast as I can wiggle my arm, that's how fast you move.
Yeah.
Like, your body will turn to jelly just from whiplash. Like,
also, she could just give someone to Deku, and he could yeet them into space.
Punt, you know?
Now, we've already thought about that.
Right.
We've already, theorized about that.
But the fact that Uraraka could just do that on herself.
Yeah.
Like by herself. Like, because up till now, she's kind of been the support type character with her power. Mm-hmm. But this is a whole nother level. And the fact that because she knew martial arts, and there were a bunch of people in the match and on the enemy's team that didn't have enhancement type quirks, and it was just we have good caster type manipulation battle control. Mm-hmm. No, she gets close to you and you're done.
Yeah, you're done. Yeah. The rest of the team, though, I almost wish Minetta's trap balls had done a little bit more, because once I saw that he was actually able to maneuver them, even though it was used for the gag with Ashido, that just felt really kind of just exciting for him to be able to have this thing of where not only is this something that you guys can't touch, but I can touch it and I can use it to jump around. Awesome. And then just the casual like buckler shield idea.
I was going to mention that.
I
stick that on someone's face.
That's so ridiculously strong. If you have any, this is an anti-tentacle power quirk use here. Now the problem is that he then becomes attached to it as well, and they could just
and that's why you might want to let go or something.
But but the idea that if it's an item, then all he has to do is find another ball or just take another ball that's off his head, connect it to any part of the environment and drop the buckler, and then just rely on the strength of the buckler for a brief period of time, and then go away and let your teammate take care of it.
And just if you
rinse, repeat.
Let's say you just throw one of your great balls at somebody and it sticks to them. Especially if they would in fact want to like take a piece of paper or something and put it over that really quickly, because otherwise if they randomly bump into like a light pole or something, like, you know, or a telephone pole or something, right? All of a sudden, oops, this is bad.
Yeah, you have the Momo situation with Kendo, where Kendo's dragging a full-on cannon.
The tongue stuck to the frozen metal, like it's just flagpole. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. But then also Mina did a really good job. I think that this episode felt still like, okay,
definitely slow,
a bit of a kind of a okay, cool, good. This arc's over, because this has been probably one of the just general like less than parts of MHA.
Yeah.
And while I am excited about the Endeavor, Hawks, just Todoroki family stuff that's been kind of peppered in the earlier stuff there, I'm excited to go back to that.
Yes.
I'm excited about the Deku quirk, development here.
Lots of good highlight moments from this arc.
Right, but now that it's over, or at least essentially over, because
still need to know what class Shinso goes into.
Yeah. That's the thing, is that they're basically saying, no. The Shinso decision-making stuff, that's the finale of this arc.
The class you will be in is... Tune in next week.
Yeah, exactly. I am so excited for Shinso being brought back into the story.
Me too.
Him training with Aizawa is just a really wholesome thing that I think, like once he was brought in, immediately, I think we were all like, he needs to train with Aizawa. Yeah. Like, he needs to be with Aizawa. It feels almost like fan service.
Yep. And the best kind of fan service. Fan service doesn't have to be bad. Fan service is one of the best things you can do in a story. You just really know what it is the fans actually want, not what they think they want or what you think they want. And this is great.
Yeah, and you don't have to warp your story around it. Just if it's needed, if it makes sense, you can give it there.
Pitch a few down the middle.
The rest of everyone else, though, saw on full HD.
That doesn't seem like a strength-enhancing
Deku
quirk.
not using a quirk that looks like his quirk. However, I would say that a lot of people can chalk this up theoretically to, well, we don't really know what Deku's quirk is.
Right.
His quirk is one that's a little bit of a... it's always had problems with control specifically.
That's
and
true.
And they've been bringing up the idea of quirk evolution.
Yes.
So this might be more of a, hey, Deku, we understand that your quirk might be evolving at this point. This happens to a lot of people. And they could pull the whole, when you get to a certain age, your body's...
But you need to make sure you understand that, so that way you don't accidentally hurt yourself or the people around you, and just, it's important. Yeah,
exactly. And... if they choose to focus on that, where a bunch of the other students are like, okay, that's kind of cool as a thing, what happens when a quirk that's entirely different from that then comes out? And it's like, the thing of like, okay, first one we kind of like, that's quirk evolution.
Fool me once,
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like now we are one extra quirk usage away from just All Might having to declare it.
Yep.
And be like, he's my successor.
And I will say, right now, Deku actually got lucky, because Black Whip, the color scheme, is very similar to Deku's general color scheme. It is very similar. With like the black and the green and everything.
Right. But this is the other thing. I think if All Might is forced to reveal this, that brings up an interesting thing here. I don't believe any other previous One for All user publicly declared that they were a successor of the other One for All user.
Yep.
It was just a thing of, hey, there's a new, really strong hero.
And All Might was like that tier above the rest before, because, it keeps getting stronger, so...
Right, and that makes sense.
Right, so you can't trace it as easily.
Right, but here's the thing that's a little bit different. All Might was the one that championed the idea of a symbol of peace.
Yes.
Deku could become the inheriting of the symbol.
But he's going to be different from All Might.
But he's going to be very different from All Might, and also, if he ends up getting that kind of spotlight, and people see him using multiple quirks, that's just...
Yeah. the class is one thing, right? But even then, they'll be like,
Right.
But society as a whole?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And All For One knows it's Deku. All For One knows it's Deku.
That too.
So,
yeah.
So, if we get into a position, basically, where it's the, hey, this is just Deku's accelerated position to being pushed into the limelight, that means that Shigaraki's acceleration is also right around the corner, too. Because he is the dark twisted parallel of Deku.
Right.
And that means that if All For One is just chilling in Tartarus, like, oh, no, I'm biding my time. I'm waiting for a moment that makes sense.
And I can still listen in on the guards in another room.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not just chilling here because I'm trapped.
Yeah, the whole thing of Monoma using his quirk once he was already in prison,
that felt
very much felt thematically tied, shall we say. Because if Monoma can copy a few quirks for 10 minutes, what in God's name can All For One do?
Right, and this is something that All For One has been more specifically pointed at, is that All For One has followers out there that are still carrying on his will. Now, the difference is that Monoma had a quirk that had a permanent, lasting effect that would be there as long as he was able to use Twin Impact. He could then echo the
Right.
Kira has already touched that,
Exactly.
Yeah. But someone with potentially hundreds of quirks.
Oh, yeah.
Who might have already left a bunch of permanent things just in general out
When
there.
he was fighting All Might, he literally said the equivalent of, all right, I need 37 of this type of quirk. Or it was more like,
it was like 15 to 20.
15 or whatever to 20.
Like different types.
But just like for general enhancement stuff for his fist so that he could punch really good. What about the janky stuff in the catalog?
The jank stuff, yeah.
Like,
no idea.
Yeah.
No idea. So, yeah, I think that if they want to grand escalate things here, and this is kind of the, like, the situation where we're at, I want to just throw out on a limb. I think All For One's breaking out, like, literally this season. Like, literally this season.
Yeah, I kind of think so.
I think he's breaking out.
Yeah.
And it's a thing of where he's like, oh, yeah, like, it's the perfect time. And I think it's going to be tied a little bit to Endeavor getting basically taken down a really strong peg here.
Sure.
Because they're setting up the Dabi Endeavor confrontation.
Yeah, that too.
And if Hawks is already a little bit in bed with the villains...
Although he's doing it... He's a double agent.
No, I got you. But what if it was basically all thrown in the faces of Hero Society in one go, that the number one and number two hero are not...
enough. And then all of a sudden...
And then all of a sudden,
All For One
shows up again. Basically just...
Yeah. The thing that we've been building up to and we've been waiting for is war.
Yep.
Because that has to happen, right?
Well, it's coming eventually.
Yep.
It's just is that the final arc of MHA, or is that just the next, thing for MHA?
The point where Hogwarts gets taken over, where suddenly, you're not in Kansas anymore. This isn't just school. Yeah. You're in the world of adults in full, whether you're ready or not.
Yeah.
And then how does the world handle that? And how do the kids handle that?
Right. I think we're still needing a little bit more destabilization of Hero Society before that's actually happening.
We're not. That's not right on the horizon, but it's coming up.
Yeah, and Shigaraki is not fully ready to lead any kind of new movement of villains
totally
and stuff.
I was just going to say that
he's close, but not there yet.
If All For One gets out, that's a way that it could happen.
No, I'm with you. I just think that All For One's ultimate goal is to pass on everything to Shigaraki.
That is true.
Because he hasn't solved the... All For One hasn't solved entirely the physical body problem.
Right. All Might still pasted his face, back then, and he still beat him this time, even though All Might's now gone.
Right. So I think that All For One... Yeah. He's not looking to sit atop everything himself. I think
he's in the long game.
He's looking for the long game to then pass on everything to his dark not son and be like, now you go and cause some chaos. Right. Yeah. So, y'all Thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the full-length timer version of this reaction, go check out the link in the description below. For our Patreon, you can get on, sorry, I keep thinking about the usual way of doing things, but any level of support gets you access to our Discord, where you can chat with us and the community there about MHA as a show. There's stuff for the manga people, stuff for the anime onlys, and we talk about anime in general. And also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We do streams every weekday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. The info's in the description.
Yes, if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.